Hey guys, so before the actual video starts, I just want to say thank you to a viewer. Their name on YouTube is 3Hood. I don't know if you guys can see because the glare, but they actually requested me to do this video, which is a tutorial video. To be honest, I was kind of pushing that back because I did have the idea of doing a tutorial video before, but typically with my drawings I don't do tutorials just because I don't use like a lot of the skeletal stuff that people use. So like how they make it like a netting, so they show like the circles and for like the joints and like different lines, so that way you map out the parts of the body. I'm normally someone who just likes to draw like free-handedly, so it might be hard to follow along. I do apologize if it is like that though, because I normally just, go at it and draw based on shapes that I can remember how to draw, so that's how I draw. But for this video, I wanted to do a male and a female, so that way you guys have like a good idea. Now, this is not always how I draw them. There are some parts that I typically could draw differently, but I made it a way so that way you guys could see like the gender more specifically. Sometimes I draw, like, you'll notice for the guy head that I draw during this tutorial, it will have like a stronger jawline than what, like a stronger chin than what I normally draw in my other videos and drawings, but that's just because that's a different type of face that I could draw for a male, so once in a while I will do that. It completely depends. It's up to you on how you want to draw like the face itself in terms of like how round and stuff. But yeah, I just wanted to insert this in. Thank you again, 3Hood, for actually like requesting this video. Honestly, I probably wouldn't have done it until someone requested it, just because I felt kind of like maybe people didn't want to draw in my style. But yeah, I do watch a lot of like YouTube artists too myself, and they do tutorials and stuff like that. So it was fun to make. It took me not as long as I thought it would, because I'm normally quick at sketching, but this is just like one way that I draw them. There's like multiple angles and stuff like that I could draw the face at, but yeah. So if you guys want to see more, or like any coloring tutorials, like how I color things, you can definitely request that too in the comments section. So on to the video. So this is basically me starting off. I am first drawing a female face. So typically a lot of the female faces I draw are just the same thing. Think of like a wide, I'd like to think of like a wide raindrop, or a oval that one end is just becomes pointy at the end, like some triangular shape. I don't use any netting or like any sketches with like the different shapes inside for like the skeletal parts, so it might be hard to follow along, but I tried my best. For females, I give them a smaller neck, but typically that's just how it is because they have smaller statures than guys, so that's what I do. I do up to like kind of the bust area, and that's about it for like drawing for this tutorial, just because I feel like there's like so much to go through. So yeah. For bodies, if you actually want like body tutorials, maybe I'll show you guys in a different video if you request that. But I give them like small, like their shoulders are more slanted than the guys, so it's less boxy. But yeah, this is how I draw like from the neck to the shoulder. I erase part of the head, so the top part. You can normally I go back and erase if I didn't erase enough, but for this I think I erased enough for the hair. This is just a generic hair that I chose to draw for like a hairstyle. To be honest, there's so many different types of hairstyles you could do. I just chose a simple one. It's basically like bangs in the front. So how I draw hair is literally parts of it are overlapping. But most of my hair looks kind of spiky, even if it's just flowy hair. So yeah, my hair is normally pretty spiky. I try to add lines in the middle between different spikes, so that way you can see more detail. So it looks like there's different strands of hair rather than just like, one hair, one piece of like triangle for hair. So yeah. And then for this one, it was like bangs in the front. That was like kind of the whole thing. So this is how I draw like where the split should be. You can make your split for your hair on any side. This was just me doing like a generic thing, which is like on the top of the head. And then I started adding strands of hair for the actual front. So this is still connected, kind of like, I guess for guys you would call it like the sideburns area, but for girls you don't. So yeah, and normally those are the longer strands that I put if I'm doing like a long hairstyle, so that way you can see that. And then the other pieces of hair are just like flowing behind. So same thing with this side too. Normally I do like 2 or 4 strands of hair like in the front for either side, like 2 and 2. So 2 strands in the front for each side. So that equals to 4. But yeah, you don't have to put all of the strands in the front, or you could just do one strand that's like overlapping in the front near the shoulder. Just depends on how you feel like drawing the hair. And then after that, I go over and draw some loose strands that are like more on the side to give more volume to the hair, just because it's looking a bit like super flat. So I add more on the side so that way it looks like the hair is thicker. And this is just me fixing, I just go over and fix the facial shape. And this is how I draw eyes. So the way I'm drawing an eye for the female, it's just basically a curved line. And for this one, I decided to keep like a longer line for eyelashes. Normally at the end, I just like where the point is. So this point that I'm drawing here, normally I would just do it at the end and not have like that super long wing there. But sometimes I make it more feminine by drawing in that, by leaving like a wing. So you can definitely draw like that top part longer. It's kind of hard to see for this one, but yeah. And for the top of the eye, you'll notice I drew a line that connects from the top of the eye. And then you'll notice another line on top of that is basically like, think of a double eyelid. It's just to have that effect. So there's like wrinkles, because people have like wrinkles on their eyes. So that's basically what I was trying to go for. And for the bottom part, it's kind of a curve, so it curves upwards, and then the part closer to the, I want to say near where the bridge of the nose would be, that part for the eye actually goes a little bit down, so it swoops. It's kind of like a swoopy shape, so it's like curves down from the side of the face to like a little swoop that's scooping the other way for closer to the bridge of the nose. And then for the eyebrows, it's just typically just a thin eyebrow for females, so that's what I do. And how I draw nostrils, I draw them more up. They're slanted like diagonal, so that way it looks like there is a nose there. Before I used to do like really flat noses. So yeah. And then for the mouth, this is just a typical, it's kind of like a cat mouth. And then I drew like a curve underneath, and I put some teeth. So this is just an open mouth look. For the lips, the top lip will always be smaller than the bottom lip the way that I draw. So the bottom lip will be thicker. So that line is basically when I color it in, it will be thicker. And this is me just like, I go over again and I just change the shape of the face a little bit. Sometimes when I'm drawing the nose and the mouth, you'll find that the angles or the shape of the face doesn't really fit, so you can always change that. I think for this one I made the chin too, like, it looked too fat, so I had to go back and make it more slanted upwards, so that way it was like, it looks thinner. The face, I definitely drew the face more chubbier before, so I wanted to kind of get away from that, and I just add some detailing for the ears. Sorry if it's hard to see this part. I'm noticing it on camera. It's not really super clear, but yeah. And then I always go over, if you're drawing clothing that covers the collarbone, you don't have to focus on this, but this is how I'm drawing the collarbone. It's just like they're connected by like a small U shape, and then they're like pointed that way. I don't know how to describe it, but you guys can see it. And then I always draw like a line underneath. For the on top of the collarbone, sometimes I draw like these lines. That's just for more detail, for like the different muscles and bones and stuff like that there, and wrinkles from the skin. But you don't have to draw those if you don't want to, or once in a while I'll only draw that for one side. It completely depends on what angle you're drawing them at. I wasn't really paying attention to what size chest I gave her. This was just a regular size chest, I guess. But yeah, so I kind of drew the curve of her arm so you can see her arm's not super... Oh no, her shoulders aren't super wide is what I wanted to go for. And this is just me drawing clothing, but I didn't need to. But this is what it would look like if you gave like a V-neck t-shirt rather than just something that covers the whole collarbone. Yeah. And I don't know why I bothered to take my time to draw clothing, but normally I draw clothing that's more skin tight and form-fitting, which means that you're just using the character's form as like the outline of where the clothing is going to be. For sleeves though, you can always change it. You can make it that the sleeves are actually like, I don't know, more poofier on the ends, so that way it looks like it's not completely connected to their body. Depends on how loose you want the clothing. You can draw it looser. I just typically do this. By the way, when I switch over to the male tutorial, it actually, the lighting changes, so I'm sorry about that if it bothers you guys. So you'll notice it's a bit darker, and the sunlight is really annoying there, so I do apologize for that. For guys, I'm drawing the basic head shape. Like, the top part of the head is perfectly the same as, like, the females. The bottom part, I like to make the sides of their face, like the cheek area, stronger, so it's more squarish. And then the chin, normally I draw chins, if they're like a softer male character, I would draw the chin just like the same as the female almost, but for this one I kind of did like a square draw, so a square chin, so you'll notice it's kind of flat there, and I purposely did that because I wanted to show you guys like a range of faces, because yeah, it would be the same if I just drew it like that. It would almost look like the female for like the face, it's the head shape itself. For the neck is always wider, so the neck is closer to where those 2 points are for like the jawline. I think I got those cheeks before. I'm pretty sure that's like the jawline area. And for the shoulders, I make them wider. It looks more square. That's just typically how you want males to look for their body. I'm not really focusing on the body right now, so you don't really have to worry too much, but this is just how I'm drawing the shoulders. And for the hair, again, same thing. I always like to draw the head and then erase the top of the head, so that way I know that I get the same thing. And basically, you want your hair to be like slightly... You want your hair to be lower than... to start lower than where the actual head starts, because if you do that, the forehead will look too big and the hair wouldn't seem like it's like completely on the head like that, so it makes the head look too long. So typically you want to work lower. I don't know if you guys can see it, but lower than where you actually drew the head to begin with. This is just a random hairstyle I chose. This is more of like a spiky hairstyle. This is short. So you'll notice I always do like the front first, because bangs and everything like that. Even if I'm drawing like a hair that's going upwards to be on, or slicked back, I actually always use the front first for reference. This part is kind of like the side to the back, so I'm just doing some spiky hairstyle. It's nothing really in particular, like you could choose whatever hairstyle you want to draw people in. It doesn't really matter to me. I just chose like the easiest ones that I could remember. So yeah, just adding like extra lines after drawing like the spikes. So like an extra line in the middle, so it looks like it's more strands of hair. And in the front, I'm adding like on top of where the actual hair that I drew was before, like extra spike lines. And basically that's how I add more layers of hair. Usually if it was bigger, if I drew it bigger, I would have more space for more of those extra layers that I draw, but for this one I only could draw like 2 spikes and that was it. And for the eyes, the top of the eyes are more flat. So it's kind of like I do this angular thing, so think of it as kind of a point in the front, and then it angles off to the side. And then for the actual, that piece that connects for the bottom part of the eye, I draw it, it kind of slants more inwards, so it's kind of, so the eye looks smaller, just because for females I do like the eyes are bigger, and for guys it's a little bit smaller looking. And yeah, but basically I do add like those wrinkles on the top as well. It's all basically the same thing, except I didn't add more, what is it? I didn't keep like that wing. I didn't add like a longer piece for the top part, so that way it looks like it's a winged look. Think of like winged eyeliner. I guess that's how I would typically draw like the female eyes. It depends though. Sometimes I just draw it like without that. So you can draw it with or without, doesn't matter for the extra winged part. And then for the eyebrows, it's normally thicker, it's more angular the way I draw them. So that's basically it. And then the nostrils are all the same. I basically follow the same rule for like the nostrils and then the bottom parts of the eyes that I did, and then also the mouths. For this one, I gave him a more serious expression, not super happy, because I wanted to show like different expressions. So yeah, but the bottom lip is bigger than the top lip. It's also kind of longer than the top lip as well, so the bottom lip is like, it has more length and it's kind of further down, so that way it's like thicker. Like the distance between the actual mouth and the lips are different, so the bottom will always have more distance between it and the mouth, just because it's kind of realistic where the bottom part of your lip is bigger, I guess. And same thing, it's hard to see because the lighting for this one. I'm so sorry. But basically, yeah, for the lighting, for the collarbone, I just do the same thing. For this one, I didn't bother to draw like clothing or anything. And I gave them, so for the neck for guys, I always do like more like lines, and in the center I always do at least one line. This time I did two, but you can just put one curved line. It's basically to represent like the Adam's apple, I think that's what it's called for guys, and they have like a stronger looking neck, so they have that extra line for the Adam's apple. So this is basically what I added. And yeah, I basically always remember to add the Adam's apple for the neck and make sure the neck is wider compared to like the female. But that's it for this video. Sorry if I was everywhere with like the whole tutorial. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Bye!